In episode 1, I was honored to receive on our talk show 3 great panelists based in Washington, D.C. We had Diana Konaté, who is a National Policy Director at African Community Together, ACT. Next to her, we had HIWOT BERIHUN, the Legal Director of African Community Together Act. And our third panelist was Modeste MBUNWE, a DevOps engineer and English program anchor at Media 2 Africa. To bring awareness on the temporary protected status, TPS, that the United States granted to Cameroonian national currently living in the United States, we discussed about eligibility, TPS versus asylum. We also discussed about exception. Today, we are going to go over the fast approaching application deadline for Cameroonian national currently living in the United States. I will also give an opportunity to Diana and lawyer HIWOT to make a call to action. So at the live production, you have Andy Martinez, and behind this microphone, Pastor Mercy Denebou-Boire. I am the CEO of Leadership Excellence for Women by Women, a women empowerment nonprofit that is based here in Dallas, Texas. Precious women of valor, precious men of valor, good afternoon and welcome to Leadership Excellence for Women by Women.
And this insulin resistance is because
93% of juvenile victims of sexual abuse is by people they know.
Because you are illegal, you can even benefit from it because you're being a victim.
People paid for that.
the roadmap that you had to follow.
Pouvoir payer donc le crédit bancaire qu'ils vont te faire.
Non, on pensait que c'était une Américaine qui allait venir. Donc nous, on était déjà braqués.
Precious women of valor, precious men of valor, good evening and welcome to the talk show of Leadership Excellence for Women by Women. Again, I would like to welcome our panelists, starting with Diana Konaté. Can we please have her on the screen? We also have HIWOT BERIHUN and Modeste MBUNWE. We would like to have all of them up. Hello, Diana, HIWOT, and Modeste. How are you again?
Hey, we're doing fine. Hope you too.
Doing fine.
Doing great. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to continue our discussion with you all. And like I've mentioned in the intro, tonight we want to bring awareness on the TPS for Cameroon. And before I get started, I would like to give an opportunity for HIWOT again to please tell us when did the United States granted TPS status to Cameroonian living in the US. I know we talked about it last week, but tonight being our night of a call to action, we really want to go back again to those critical deadlines that is approaching. HIWOT, back to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks, panelists. Yeah, so TPS was just a reminder from last week. And if you watched last week, there's definitely more details, and we encourage you to do that as a continuation. But if you're starting now, just as a reminder, the TPS for Cameroon was designated for 18 months from June 7, 2022. So that means it's been over a year, and we have less than 6 months until that 18-month period.
Thank you so much, HIWOT. I know Diana mentioned to us last week that right now they're really working hard to get this extended. But again, like we always said, I will make sure to have those deadlines at the top of the video description, just as a reminder. So my next question will be to Modeste, who again is from Cameroon. He's based in Washington, D.C. And to prepare this talk show, I've asked him if he wouldn't mind getting feedback from his community and also getting questions for them in order to have a better talk show. And thank you, Modeste, for doing that for us. I would like to ask you one quick question. Did you or any Cameroonian in the United States knew that the US has granted TPS to Cameroonian living in the US?
I think I knew of it because I'm much connected to folks around because of people do a lot of inquiries through my TV programs. And I also have a lot of students who attend my courses, although they, like we're struggling, do hear that a lot when it comes to fees. Majority of them would say we don't have employment yet, we're struggling to just get ready so that the day we happen to get our status regularized, then we could pick a good job. So that's when I get to know that they had granted a TPS status for Cameroonians living in the States. But to the best of my knowledge, I know a lot of folks are very ignorant of this, since they don't have access to information. When they use their phones more for social media activities, after the struggle in the Panama cities and Mexico trekkings to the USA, they want to tell families they have arrived and they're safe, and they want to post photos on social media and not making use of the available resources that could make their situations better. So a lot are not yet very aware. I think that is to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah. And last week we discussed about that when we were wrapping up, about the fact that it's time for our community to really wake up and take things seriously. So I hope everyone is ready for the information that is coming up, which prompted me actually to really change the lineup of our programming for our talk show and to bring these great two panelists on the platform. I'm talking about Diana Konaté and lawyer HIWOT BERIHUN, to discuss about the case of Cameroon. Because initially, when I contacted Diana, it was to prepare a talk show about the current TPS for Mali that is on the table with the United States administration. So, Diana, what is the estimated number of Cameroonians living in the United States eligible for TPS, for the temporary protected status?
Sure. So according to DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, an estimated 11,700 Cameroonians are likely eligible for TPS.
Okay. Would you mind to repeat that number? I will have it at the description later on.
11,700. So a little bit under 12,000 people, 12,000 Cameroonians here in the US.
That's a lot. And now let's face the reality. How many Cameroonians living in the United States have applied so far, literally a year later?
Sure. So based on the most recent data that I've seen, as of March 31st, 2023, only 2,845 Cameroonians have applied for TPS. And of that number, 1,310 have been approved, but the number is extremely low with less than 6 months to go.
Yeah. So we talk about almost 12,000 Cameroonians living in the United States likely eligible. And the reality is like 2,000, a little bit above 2,000 who apply. Of that, 1,000, a little bit above, have been approved. You do the math. Even though I didn't plan for that question, I will let HIWOT or Diana decide. In case like that, if the national of a country for living in the United States that have been granted TPS do not apply, what is the likelihood of that TPS to be extended or not?
I mean, I think that, it definitely doesn't look great, because it seems like, maybe the community might not need it. But, from our viewpoint, as long as the situation in Cameroon continues to be dangerous for people, we're going to continue to fight for it. And we're going to continue to pressure the administration to extend it, regardless of the number of people who have applied, because, 2,000 people have applied, and we want to make sure that those people continue to be protected, continue to have work authorization, and continue to be able to take care of their families and live a productive life here.
Yeah.
But it is disheartening to see that low number, and there could be many reasons. But yeah.
Hiyot, would you like to add something?
Sorry, my mute was like having a delay moment. I don't have anything to add. I agree with Diana. I think we should definitely, you know, considering the country conditions, we should definitely keep on fighting. And, you know, it's African immigrants are already at a disadvantage point from, you know, economically, language. There are just so many things, right? So having access to proper legal resources is important. So your show like this and providing that access and information is important. So I think this is something that we should continue to work on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Modeste, not like we want to put the light on you, but as a Cameroonian living in the United States, I didn't want to give you the actual number when I contacted you.
Correct.
What is your first reaction to the very low number of applicants?
I think it's really very disappointing because I know a lot of folks who have come to this country due to the crisis, because when you get statistics of displacements, just for Anglophone folks alone, it's talking more than 35,000 that have left Cameroon of recent during this period from 2016 to 2023. And a lot of them, I would say like 80% of this number moved towards the USA. And just this number that I'm hearing, the number that I've applied is really not satisfactory to me, because I think, like he was said, this talk show should be a household TV show. So it sensitizes Cameroonians and Africans in general who are fleeing wars, because people are not yet aware of this. And I think this will be like a beginning, an eye-opener to some of us who have had the opportunity to meet Mercy and also share the word and also the platform, so it reaches those who need to get this information more.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, this is the diaspora here. I would like us to go a little bit deeper here and to be honest. Modest, why do you think that so many Cameroonians living in the United States have still not applied?
No, you know, people with illegal status, they don't have employment. Some of them, some kind of, I would say, sympathizers or family people who have taken them in, they might not be ready to bear the financial burdens. We've given you accommodation, we can give you food. You need to kind of try to get the money to pay the procedure.
But remember, I don't want to cut you, Modest.
Correct.
Maybe here can go back to what we did. We explained last week. If
Correct.
you don't have the financial mean, the United States, the immigration can also, you can apply for a waiver, all right, and then prove that you don't
Yes.
have the mean to pay for it. Am I quoting this correctly here?
That's right. There is this application, 9112. It's a fee waiver, and there's 3 ways to get that. One is if you have 150% below federal poverty guideline, and then the second is if you're receiving any type of benefits from the government. And then the third is extreme hardship. So you'd have to show that you really are having a hard time paying for the application and show and supplement that with the evidence. That one is usually the hardest ones. And I think what Modeste is referring to is not only is it the burden of an immigrant, non-documented or immigrant here, just the application fee is just hiring a lawyer. And if you're not around a nonprofit that's going to help you out, it's just that is an extra challenge. And knowing the information, being able to talk to folks. I sympathize with folks because primarily their idea of living is just survivorhood. So they think, okay, let me just survive, get some food and housing before I go to the next step. But at the same time, they can go beyond that and, you know, kind of suffer or compromise for their immigration documents, even before sending money to back home. Honestly, because once they get better status, they get better jobs, better lives, better money. So I really encourage people to just compromise some of the stuff that they would have to go through to get to that place.
You know, here, I am so glad that you're saying this. It's amazing because you and I, we haven't met yet. And today is really our first time to discuss. But it's like when I was listening to you, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's repeating what I've been saying over and over throughout my talk show for the past 3 years. It's amazing what you're saying because here, I've said that over and over again to the immigrants living in the United States. If you move here or any other country around the world, you decide to leave your continent, your country, to go somewhere else, please do not stay with your community alone. Because let's face it, they will not be able to tell you the ins and outs of the country where all of you are living. I always tell the immigrants, please make sure when you get to the country where you immigrate, get friends with the people of that country. It is the only way for you to understand how the system works and how to get ahead. But by staying with your community only, again, I'm not saying don't stay with your community. However, just like HIWOT said, prioritize. It is all about priority. When you come to the United States or anywhere in the world where you move, know your priority. And like she mentioned, you may have to sacrifice for the beginning. We are all, most of us are from, different countries, and we know the pressure from the family back home. We've all been there. We know the pressure and we know the sacrifice that we make. But let me tell you something. You cannot really help them in the long run if you yourself, you are not stable in the country where you immigrate. And in order to be stable, number one, you're going to have to make priority. Number two, you're going to have to go out of your comfort zone and be friends with the people of the country where you move. That is the only way. In fact, the reason why I created a nonprofit, many people, even some of my friends, they ask me, how were you able to make a head in this country? I moved to the United States 21 years ago with $300. No family member in this country. So you cannot tell me that you cannot succeed. People look at me, some of my friends, how did you do it? How come you are having this kind of position? And they think that people are pushing me. I'm like, I don't have anybody pushing me. I just learned the culture. I immersed myself in the culture. And it took me a sacrifice 18 years ago to completely remove myself from my community and move to West Virginia with no Black people, no African. So I had no choice than to learn proper English. I had no other choice than to learn the culture in this country. I just wanted us to, hear talk about it, and I was smiling. I'm like, okay, somebody's repeating the same thing that I'm saying. So thank you so much, HIWOT, for saying that. I would like us to go back to the law number again. Diana, as a policy director, what is your main concern with such a low number of Cameroonian applicants living in the United States that apply to TPS? Because let's face it, I know how it is, to fight for a policy to go through. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of commitment, and you want to see result because the U.S. government want to see also a result of, the fight that you made. But with such a low number, please tell us honestly, what is your main concern about this?
I mean, I think for me, the main concern is that there are people, Cameroonians, who are suffering needlessly because they have, a benefit that is available to them that will help them to, come out of the shadows, live a life where they can have lawful status, have documentation, get work authorization so that they can make more money, you know, and they have all of this at their fingertips, but they're not taking advantage of it, and, you know, are potentially suffering needlessly. But I also want to, you know, point out that even though the numbers are low, one of the things that we sometimes hear from the communities that we work with is, and we've addressed this in the episode last week, but people think that, oh, you know, I've applied for asylum, so I'm not going to apply, you know, I don't need to apply for TPS because I've already applied for asylum and I'm just going to wait for that application to go through.
Which, by the way, Diana, I don't want to cut you, may not go through.
Exactly. So that's, you know, one of the things that we advise people is go ahead and apply for TPS, because, you know, the likelihood, a large percentage of asylum applications get denied, like about 80%, the majority will get denied, unfortunately. So it's better to have that additional protection in case your asylum claim gets denied. That way you can continue to work. You are continue to be protected from deportation. And, you know, you're able to live in this country. So, you know, there could be a host of reasons why people haven't applied yet, but really, really, you know, encouraging people to share this information with other people, and make sure that in the next couple of months, that as many Cameroonians as possible apply. We are trying to do, you know, what we can with the community by disseminating information, appearing on shows like this to talk to the community. We are also working directly with DHS and USCIS to make sure that they themselves do a better job of educating the community, and putting more information out there, putting more resources within the Cameroonian community to provide more information. But at the end of the day, you know, we have to do it for our communities, and we have to make sure that we're passing along the information to people who can benefit from it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Diana. And, you know, to just add to what you said, one of my main goals is really in the next few months to start working and having a policy maker on the show to really discuss about what is going on within the diaspora. And here we're going to be honest. This I'm just going to throw this out and get your reaction, because of the fact that I'm in contact with so many diaspora members. Sometimes the fact that a community member may be illegal, they will be scared to apply to TPS. Why? In fact, I had some people telling me that, well, if I apply, based on the fact that what lawyer HIWOT said last week, TPS is just temporary. It may get extended, but when it gets terminated, you fell back into your previous status. So let's say Jane is illegal, and Jane want to apply for TPS, but she's scared because she felt like, if I do, the immigration may locate me. They may know my whereabouts. Meaning that when the TPS is no longer there, it is terminated, they can locate Jane and deport her. So fear is also playing a major part here. What is your take on that?
So I can give my perspective on it. I think that's a legitimate fear. I think that, you know, I don't want to minimize anybody's fear around that, because that's a very legit fear to have, particularly, you know, after seeing what we did with under the Trump administration, and their stance towards immigrants. But at the same time, you know, your life can really change with a benefit like this. And at the end of the day, like, you know, whether people want to believe it or not, the government knows where you are. They know that there are 11,700 people, Cameroonians, who would benefit from TPS, because they know where people are. You know, they know people who came in and did overstayed and haven't left. They have all kinds of information. But, you know, as long as you're living your life, you know, correct, or, you know, under the radar, you're not doing anything to raise alarms, then you're not a priority to them. And, you know, you can go ahead and live your life. But, you know, regardless, you can be here undocumented and still be found by the government and still be deported. So, you know, our position is that when people have access to these benefits, the best thing to do is to take advantage of them. Somalia, for example, is one of the countries that has had TPS for, it's been decades. You know, they've had it since, I want to say, 1991. Sudan has had TPS since 1997. Liberia had TPS since 1991. Then it went to DED. Then, you know, as long as the conditions in the country remain such that it's dangerous for people to return, and as long as the community keeps fighting for an extension, you know, then we can make sure that our communities stay protected. And in that time, you know, you never know what's going to happen. One of the things that we fight for, our ultimate goal, is permanent legal status for African immigrants in the US. And, you know, when the opportunities come, we fight for it. You know, we recently did. Right now, the political situation is one that, you know, we can't, it's unlikely that we'll see legislation that will legalize people in this country. But, you know, stranger things have happened. Our last, we were able to get legalization green cards for Liberians in 2019 under President Trump. That was the last time people in this country were legalized, and Trump signed that into law. So you just never know when things will happen, how things will play out, but definitely always take advantage of these opportunities. It allows you to, you know, get a better job. People are able to work, get driver's license, which can be a very big thing for our communities because, you know, as Black people in this country, we tend to be over-policed. You know, Black men are more likely to be stopped by the police. So as a Black immigrant, if you are driving around without a license, that's a reason to be then, you know, put into detention and, you know, get deported just because you were driving without a license. So I'm rambling now, but
this is good. This is really good because, you know, I believe Modest has mentioned that last week. Some Cameroonian from his country, they flew to different countries and then entered the United States illegally through Mexico, which we all know how hard it is, how sometimes the condition at the border can be, you know, very inhuman. So they went through all that risk. Now you get in and you have this opportunity, and yet you are scared, thinking that they will locate you. Just like Diana said, they know where each and everyone is in this country. So let's just get this clear. The immigration knows everybody's whereabouts. And like Diana mentioned, as long as you are staying under the radar, you're okay. So definitely, you know, take advantage of this. As a reminder, HIWOT, please, when is the application deadline? You are muted.
Okay, sorry. So the application deadline is December 7th, 2023.
Okay, so that's literally like less than 6 months, roughly 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very soon.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying that's very, very soon.
Yeah, and that is why I want us now for the next few minutes to be very strategic here. Modest, given that you are in media, what will be the best way to raise awareness and circulate this information in your community?
Yeah, I think this is one of the best ways, and I would recommend that this talk show be rebroadcast. Like subsequently, so others who missed the opportunity to watch it can have another opportunity to watch it. And then if the powers in that be have like resource persons already a few people's situations, and I'm already volunteering that I'll be carrying this information to quarters that I think can go far, like through the cultural and development associations, like where I come from originally, from the Northwest region and from MBUNWE, which is one of the ethnic groups in Northwest of Cameroon. They have a powerful cultural and development association that is WICUDA, which stands for MBUNWE Cultural and Development Association. During the cultural gatherings, they do spread information of this nature. I think when this one will go on during one of these events that will be coming up, it will reach a lot of people, because it's through that Cultural and Development Association that so many immigrants get information. They get of how to better their lives, like even about education, because that's one of the things that I want to laud the efforts of immigrants that come into this country. Every session that we launch for an AWS cloud class, we have not less than 600 students, and they're paying a lot of money. Some go through like borrowing money from friends or relatives, and they go through these courses, which shows that if they were aware of what is going on about the TPS, money would not only be one of the limitations. So I think information is what they lack. So I would recommend rebroadcast. I recommend sharing this kind of information through the cultural and development associations, getting resource persons that can reach them, because through those associations, a lot of folks will get the information. Either relatives of concerned persons will carry the information to them. Because when they're coming to this country due to the difficulties, they're always encouraged, like, okay, connect with your folks so they can link you to resources, connect with people who are here who know what to do. And connecting with a total stranger when you just come here is different. It's very difficult. In America, people want to know who you are, what you're doing before they accept to become friends with you. But your people from your country can always take you in, even if they don't know you. The moment you knock at the door and somebody has a space to accommodate you, can let you in. But it's very difficult for a stranger to see somebody, especially perhaps with your situation, and you knock and you say you're just coming in as an immigrant and the person opens his door for you. It will be difficult. So that is why kind of relating with your people first before perhaps creating other connections out of your community is always one of the most, one of the first steps immigrants pass through. Like even coming here, like with my green card, they say he who receives you into this country makes you, is one of the people who could give you the right directions. The person who received me in this country was in IT. So he already told me it's going to cost you a lot of money and sacrifice. If you join this team, it's going to help you in the nearest future. Yeah. It was very strange for me. I started like a database administrator. He told me it will cost more money because this is not a program that the government will give you any funds for, or they give you loans. So you need to work hard to pay this fee. These are crash courses. So I went through that, finished that, and had to study AWS, and later studied DevOps engineering. And today is helping me. I'm talking from my home. I'm offering classes to other folks who are coming, and I try to subsidize the cost so it can help them. And I think I'll use my classroom henceforth to kind of share this kind of information, connect them to the right resources. Like I've taken the email and the phone numbers. I think this was a great talk show.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And this is actually the next level for our nonprofit that we are working on in 2024, is to become a hub, information and connection and networking for the diaspora. Because like I said, I welcome on the show all nationalities, and I'm very much aware of the issue and the problem that the diaspora is going through. And just like Modest said, the circulation of the information is one of the biggest problems. And second, let's face it, HIWOT, I know you are not from the Francophone, but Modest might relate a little bit to what I'm about to say. The Francophone African community is much more party and not willing to help each other. Sometimes even when they have the information, they prefer to let you struggle, which I still don't understand why. Because
Correct.
with me, I'm like, what I went through, the kind of struggle that I went through, I did not want the diaspora to go through. And that's the reason why I created a nonprofit. But I've noticed that a lot within our African community. We don't want to help each other. We don't want to share the information. We feel like, okay, you are a newcomer. Well, you have to suffer just like I suffer. Doesn't work like that. We have to change the mentality here. So again, while Modest, you are talking, I believe and I hope that Diana and HIWOT have taken notes. This might help also for other community to understand that there are key places where you may want to reach out. And please feel free to reach out to me in the near future for any other information. I will be more than happy to connect you with key stakeholders in those communities. I will make sure also to connect Modest with HIWOT and Diana for further discussion or further information. But just Diana, while he was talking, I was thinking, this big party or reunion that is coming in his community, maybe having even like discussing with him and having a 30-minute time slot to do a presentation online. That's a great thing today with internet. You don't have to go somewhere. And I believe all of you are based in the DMW area. So that could be also a great way for the two of you to go to a party. How about that? And at the same time, discuss and talk about what you guys are doing and what is available. So it just came into my mind while he was talking. With this event that is coming up, I think it's a great opportunity. When is the event happening, Modest?
Yes, I think it comes every third Saturday of the month for the Wikuda and other cultural and development associations. You know, here in the DMV, there's a huge concentration of African Americans, especially immigrants. So I know the geographical concentration can be due to how the other people, the first residents, the first immigrants located this area. Somebody follows a brother, a friend. Yeah. So a lot of cultural organizations take place here. Just 2 weeks ago, there was a powerful convention that convened people from all over Atlanta, Texas, all over the Wikuda people. They had attendees of more than 10,000 who flew over. Hotels around Virginia were jammed full. And I think if we had hosted this event earlier, I would have loved to solicit like somebody stop by and take even just 15 minutes, the message would have gone far. Unfortunately, that powerful convention ended, but upcoming conventions will be already in place. So this is an opportunity that if I hear of such a thing, I'll surely relay the message to Mercy to see how she can connect persons who could be of help to pass the message in such events.
Absolutely, absolutely. And here, before we take the commercial break, again, remind us how much is the application fee?
Sure. Most people fall under the $135 application fee for TPS. However, there may be some exceptions based on age and some biometrics on whether or not you're going to apply with your work permit.
Yeah, and Modest, let's face it, seriously, our community, when it comes to party, they can find the money. So we're talking about $130 or $150, right, here?
$135.
Okay. Seriously, Modest, I don't think somebody can miss that. And even if you don't, they can borrow the money. We are not talking about like 1,000 because some of the application fees are very, very expensive. But I believe for $130, they can really make up, bring up that money. And if they can, again, there is option to apply for a waiver. With that said, we are going to take a short commercial break. Stay with us. We will be back in 1 second. are back. Diana, would you mind telling us a little bit more about your organization?
Sure. So, African Communities Together is a grassroots organization of African immigrants fighting for civil rights, opportunity, and a better life for our families. Our work falls under in three main buckets. One, we connect African immigrants to services in the areas where we have chapters. One of the services that we ourselves provide is free immigration legal services for African immigrants where we have chapters. And HIWOT is one of our attorneys based in the DC chapter. We also advocate at the state, local, and federal level for laws and policies that make life better for Africans here in the US. And then third, we develop Africans as leaders in their communities. So that's some of the work that we do.
Thank you so much, Diana. Great stuff. Here, I know last week we talked about it, but please kindly remind us on what happened to TPS beneficiaries during the TPS designation period. Andy, can we please have it on the screen? Over to you, here.
Sure. One of the most important things when you are a beneficiary or receiving this benefit is that you are eligible to stay in the US, which is very important, which means you can't be removed. So if you were in removal proceedings and you're eligible, and if you meet the requirements and you applied for TPS, the US government cannot remove you to the country, your nationality. You're authorized to get a work permit as long as you meet the requirements of TPS. And then lastly, just you may be granted travel authorization. I typically don't recommend that to my clients that they use this travel authorization or documentation to go back to their country, especially if they have a pending asylum. I think like if you want to take a break from the US and want to go to, last 2 weeks ago, I had a client that wanted to go to Mexico. She just wanted to get out of the US just for a break and vacation. And I'd say, yes, this travel authorization is not a guarantee for you to come back to the US. It's almost like, okay, you'll be allowed to get in. There's some screening done, but it's not a guarantee. Like, for instance, you have a green card or a citizenship. So I would say unless you have a family emergency or some difficult situation where you would have to go back to your country or even any neighboring country, because some people will say, oh, I just went to Sudan instead of Ethiopia, or I went to here instead of here, which is a neighboring country, which looks suspicious, especially if you're an asylee. You're going to be asked about it, and you'll have to be able to justify why you went there and why nothing has happened to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Hiyot. And I will give the opportunity to Modest to ask Hiyot the next question.
Yes, I think this has been a great opportunity for us to kind of get possibilities of connecting that will help a lot of folks who need it. I think if you can create like other avenues, what would be like the possible best things you think you want to put out there that will help folks to get to this information of how to go about the current situation with the filings besides these talk shows?
I'm sorry, can you just...
Yes, about like more filing information, the process, how to follow up, because or getting them informed.
Yeah, so you file using the form I-821 only from the USCIS website, because sometimes they update the form, so you may use the wrong filing and it just delays everything. USCIS will not accept old form or old version of the form. And then you can also apply for the work permit via, again, using the online website. the USCIS website. You can do it online by mail. I'll be very honest, I've actually never filed anything online before. I have some weird trust issues of things not being able to work or crash. And so I've just done paper. And I've had clients where they're like, oh, why don't you do online? It's faster. But honestly, I just think that the evidence that's going to be required has to be captured. I need signature to make sure that the officer actually received the application. Just minor things that I would appreciate from, from submitting the evidence and scanning it in, to including that, it was received, and then also having that communication. I do believe that it's important to have a USCIS account to get your update on your case. For other stuff, I use it. There's a process called Freedom of Information Act, where it allows you to collect all of your immigration history. I filed that online. But other than that, I've only done paper filing, and this is not to discourage online filing. It's just never been my experience.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, HIWOT. And I would like to ask you the next question on behalf of the Cameroonian living in the United States. How could your organization help them for those that are interested in applying for TPS? Let's be practical here.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are in I am based out of DC, Washington, DC. We actually have an office near Eastern Market. So if you guys are familiar with the DC area, it's really central, accessible by metro. So we have an office there. So you can contact our office and be able to meet us in person. And sometimes we hold legal clinics within our community. We hold clinics at churches. So we may be able to invite you there, but it's like more convenient for us to meet you in person or do remote consultation. Our office number is 202-816-0416. And then you can also contact us through email, dmv@africans.us. Again, dmv@africans.us.
Yeah, and I will make sure to have all those information at the top of the description so that they can easily contact your organization. Diana, my next question is for you. I know last week you mentioned that you and HIWOT are in Washington, D.C., basically in the DMV. Sorry, I always say DFW because I'm in Dallas, but DMV, District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. So the last week you mentioned that. Could you also explain to us the other offices that you have nationwide, please?
Sure. So in addition to our DC office, we also have an office in New York City, in Harlem specifically. So we can provide services to immigrants who are in the New York area. And in addition to New York, we also have an office in Philadelphia. That's our newest office, our newest chapter. And we have an attorney in that office as well who provides legal services to individuals in that community. Where we are not physically located, you can still reach out to us and we will provide you with referrals to legal service providers who are either free or low cost in your area to get legal support.
Thank you so much, Diana. I will make sure to gather all those location information and the legal officer information. That will be also at the top of the description for those like in the New York area or Philadelphia. We are almost at the end of this talk show. HIWOT and Diana, respectively, what is now the call to action you would like to tell Cameroonian living in the United States? This is your time now to really get your message across and hoping that we will get the result that we are all looking for.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having us. We really enjoyed talking with you. I enjoyed talking with the panelists. I really appreciate it. I also learned some great new things about, Cameroon and the background history. Modest. Thank you so much. And I'm always happy to be with Diana on air, on any talk show. So the message is, I echo what you've been saying, is just apply for the benefits, apply to be protected so you're not removed. If you've been here for a long time, and I talk about this in the first video in episode 1, and if you feel like your immigration history is going to stop you because you've done some things that are in violation of the US laws, you may be eligible for it. TPS is a very generous benefit. A lot of immigration benefits, you need waivers. For instance, I'll say, like, if you've been here illegally on lawful status, pretty much every application almost requires you to file a waiver. And then there's just horrendous requirements that, an everyday applicant might not be able to meet that. But with TPS, you don't need a waiver. You could have been here illegally and you can apply for it. You're eligible. It's, as a matter of policy, it's passed. So Cameroon has, TPS designation. That's applicable for anybody that's of a Cameroon nationality. So we want to increase the number. Although we're saying that it's, a short time, it does not mean you cannot apply. Just apply.
Yeah, and remember, before I let maybe I will let Diana reiterate what she said last week. I believe your organization is right now fervently working to get that extended. Right, Diana?
Correct. Yes. So for my call to action, I really, really want to encourage the Cameroonian community to really get involved with the campaign to extend and redesignate Cameroon for TPS. As we mentioned, the TPS for Cameroon expires December 7th, 2023. So after that date, or before that date, 60 days before that date, DHS is supposed to come out with a decision about whether it plans to extend or terminate TPS. So we're fighting for DHS to extend TPS. We are meeting with members of Congress, getting their support. We're meeting with DHS to provide them with continued information about what's happening in the country and why it's still unsafe. But we need the help of the community to also be out, also talking to their members of Congress, also coming to rallies when we have them in DC, coming to protests, and really making their voices heard, that the conditions in Cameroon are still very dangerous. People should not be sent back there, and people should be allowed to stay in the US and allowed to take care of themselves and their families. So if you are interested in joining the work that we do, we can share our information for after the show, but HIWOT has mentioned it. Feel free to go to our website, www.africans.us, where you could learn all about the work that we do and find contact information for us, including our email address, which is info@africans.us.
Thank you so much, Diana. And Modest, what is your final word to your Cameroonian communities living in the United States?
I think before saying a final word to them, I would love to thank HIWOT and Diana for the effort they're putting out there to see that they give folks a good status to be able to get eligibility to work and help themselves and their families, which they always put before their own priorities. Yeah, so I really appreciate that. Then also appreciating you for bringing up this initiative to call us to talk about it and spread the message. Then also would love, like, if they're fighting for extension, they should also fight that the date should be updated, because the crises are still continuing and folks are still coming in. So meanwhile, they're not eligible to apply because they came in after the date that was put in place. So majority even came in 2023 and they can't apply. But when I pass this message, they'll be like, I'm not eligible to apply because I was supposed to be here in 2022 as of April, like Diana did say. So now to Cameroonian community, I would be like, if you get this message, share it, let it reach people, because you can't identify who needs it. But the moment you share it, some other person will get it and think a friend or a sister or brother will obviously need it and continue sharing the message. So I think making use of this platform, getting access to the resources that has been put out, like the emails and phone calls, they should make an effort, because like Diana said, immigration administration, they know everywhere where each and everyone is residing in America. If they were to fish you out, it would be it's not going to take any long. So people should not be afraid to go and try to better their situations by filing this. So I think they should sit up, take things serious, benefit of this opportunity, and get themselves regularized.
Yeah, thank you so much, Modeste. Diana and HIWOT, do you have any final word that you would like to share before we let you go?
I don't have anything. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Yeah, and nothing for me. Just thank you for having us. Thank you so much for bringing attention to this issue, and really, really happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, while we were talking, definitely I will be giving you a call and see how we can have another talk show about asylum, so people will understand, because Modest has mentioned it multiple times. You know, even if you cannot apply for TPS, those coming who just came in from Cameroon, they have a year from the time that they move to the US to apply for asylum. So that is also another opportunity that they can take advantage of, and not thinking like, well, there is no option for me. Again, this is all about information, but at the same time, when you are giving the information, you need to take action. So I would really like to thank our panelists of tonight, Diana Konate, HIWOT BERIHUN, and Modeste MBUNWE. Thank you so much for making time to be with us and just enlighten our Cameroonese community living in the United States. We hope to have you for another time for a different subject that will really bring knowledge and empowerment to our community. So thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you next time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Precious women of valor, precious men of valor, dear viewers, thank you again for staying with us, and we will see you next Friday at 2:30 p.m. Washington, D.C. time and 8:30 GMT for another talk show in French. So stay tuned and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.